Hello everyone. In this video, we'll discuss about primitives and object in JavaScript. What are they? What are the difference between both of them? Gradually, conceptually, we'll move ahead and try to understand it based on the memory management, and then based on that discussion, we will try to find out and dig more on some of the interview scenarios, interview questions that can come from this topic and how to answer them. Let's create a variable. Let age equal to 21. I'll console it and it's working fine. Let's create another variable. Age old equal to 35. Now, if I console log this also, it will work absolutely fine. 21 and 35, that is expected. Now if I change it, age old, now if I change age equal to age old, age equal to age old, what will happen now with age? We all know it, and I think so if you all are correct on this thing, both will be 35 and 35. No strange behavior. Okay, till now we are good. But let's say I have an object. The object name is my details, and it will hold few simple properties like name and age. Age will be, let's say, 29. Now let me create another object. Just the way we create, or just the way we did with age, I transferred age old's value to age. Let me create a new object by using my details object. So let my before details and let this be equal to my details. Yeah, I can do that. Yes, it's legal. I console it, my before details. Let me comment this out, and we have the correct object. Now let's change something in my before details. My before details equal to dot age equal to 35, and allowed then equal, and then let's console both of them, my details and my before details. What do you think? What will be the output here? My details should hold 29 and my before details should hold 35, right? I'm sorry, it's a typo. My details, it's a typo here also, but that's okay. Wrong. Both the property, the age property of both the objects are changed. Why it is happening? Isn't it very dangerous? And how it is happening behind the scene, let's try to understand it based on the memory management. And that's where the main interview question starts. How to copy object data. Now by copy, we are not saying that we need to point two objects to the same memory, that if you change one, the other one will get ultimately will get changed. We don't want this behavior. We want a copy. Okay, not two variables or not two objects pointing in the same memory. Then how to do it? Now let's first understand what is really happening behind the scene. So in JavaScript, numbers, string, boolean, symbols, undefined, big ints, this all we say they are primitives. And object literals, objects, arrays, functions, and etc., these are, we say it, reference types. So these numbers, strings, and booleans, these all are primitive types, and object literals, arrays, function, etc., are the reference types. These reference types sits on or get stored in the heap memory. So on the high level, JavaScript engine is divided into, or can be categorized, or can be divided based on the memory. On a high level, can be divided into two parts. One is the call stack and one is the heap. It's on the high level. Okay, so the reference types get stored, the objects arrays get stored on the heap memory. Whereas on the other hand, the primitive types, the number strings and all, get stored in the call stack. And by this I mean that these variables come into picture, that this variable is actually declared in the execution context. This will come into the picture where it is declared in the execution context, and execution context is a part of call stack. Let's not try to get deep inside this, and just for the sake of simplicity, let's say, okay, the primitive types get stored in the call stack where the execution context really lies. Okay, so now we understood, okay, so these primitive types and the reference types get stored. The reference type gets stored in the heap and the primitive types get stored in the callback. So now what is happening with our example? So in our first case, we have age as a variable defined. So this is call stack and this is heap for you. On the right hand side we have the heap memory. No, on the left we have the call stack, and this is the memory management. On the high level, this is not the exact values. This 001 is the address and the value sitting on that address is 21. Same is on the heap. Let's say the address is 0x03f and the value sitting is an object here. So when we have declared a variable age, what happened between the behind the picture is there the age is pointing to this address. Okay, so this age is now having a value of 21, and that's what we did in the starting, right? If you remember it, that's what we did. Age equal to 21, and then age old we declared as 35. So now this age old is pointing to 002 memory. But when we said that age equal to age old, then age equal to age old, so now this memory will not going to collapse or not going to overwritten with 001. 002 won't get overwritten by 001. Instead, what will happen behind the scene is age will now point to 002. So both will have 35 as the new value, and this address will still remain. Okay, now but there is a difference when we talk about the reference type. This age in age old are the string variables and these are the primitive types. But when we talk about the reference type like objects, there is quite a difference between the way they work behind the scene. So this is heap, and this is the one of the address sitting on the heap, and the value that address is holding is the object name Uday and age 29. So how things work behind the scene is my details will point to this address 003, and the value that 003 is holding in the execution context on the call stack, in the current execution context, my details will point to the address 003, and 003 is holding another address as a value 0x03f, which is nothing but an address of the heap. So when I say my details dot age, my details will go to this address, and this address gives a value of the heap address, and the heap address will give a value of the object. But when I say my details, my before details equal to my details, that's what we did here. My before details equal to my details. It won't happen the way it happened with the primitive types. Okay, now the my before details is also starts pointing to 003, and now both of them will point to this address and ultimately to this object. So if we change if we change my before details dot age equal to 35, then ultimately we are changing the value sitting on this address, and on this address two objects are pointing. So that is why both the objects are getting changed when we are changing only one. But if we change the value of age to something, let's say 44, then age will age will now point to the new address and it will have a new value. It's not like both age old and age are pointing to 002 and both of them are holding a value of 35. So if you change the value of age to, let's say, 44, so this doesn't mean that age old will also get changed. Age old will now point to 003 the way it was pointing before, and now age will start pointing to 005, which is holding a new value. Let me demonstrate it to you. So let's say now you are changing the value of age to something like 44. So now both age and age old will have a new value with them. See, age old is now still pointing to 35 and age now is pointing to 44. So the question here is still persists, is how to copy, how to really make a copy. So there are many ways in which we can do, but a lot of them are having some caveats. So the first way to do is, let me comment this out and let me comment this out also. Now let me uncomment, and now one of the way of doing is to use the object.assign method. So I'll do like my before details equal to object.assign empty object, comma, the object from which we want to assign the value, my details, and that's it. Now if we do a console log of both of them, we have the objects. Now if we do whatever we are doing before to change one value of my before details dot age equal to 35, and we'll check it out. So now my details value is survived with the previous value and the new value got assigned to the my before object. But object.assign only does a shallow copy. By shallow copy I mean, so let's take an example of arrays also. As I said, a reference type are not only objects, arrays are also there. So by shallow copy I mean, let's declare another properties, hobbies. Okay, and hobbies will be an array. Let's say array is also a reference type. Okay, so the hobbies layer, let's say chess and volleyball. Okay, so if I use object.assign, now both the objects will hold the same value. Hobbies will be an array of chess and volleyball and chess and volleyball. But if I change my before details dot hobbies dot push is a method we use to push a data inside an array at the last. So if I add another object, another value, cricket. Now let's see what will happen with both of them. If you see here, let me console the hobbies. Now if you see, both of them got changed. Both of them are having cricket and cricket, but we change only in my before details, but it showed in my details also. By this I mean object.assign only do a shallow copy, it won't do a deep copy. So how to do a deep copy? What are the best methods that we can adopt to do a deep copy of an object? And so this we'll discuss in our next video, where we'll discuss about the spread operator and the rest operator, and by doing this we'll try to do a deep copy. That's all with this video, folks. Please like, share and subscribe, and if you don't like something, and if you like something, please share your comments in the comment section. Everything is appreciated. Thanks a lot.